Hello there, Trailblazers fans. Welcome into the 1977 podcast, a podcast that goes 19 minutes and 77 seconds long in honor of your 1977 world champion, Portland Trailblazers. Now, 1977, that's the shtick, that's the time. Guess what? I make no promises. I don't think we will hold to that this time around because there is a lot of news to get to. This will be 1977 overtime because we got a lot to talk about. I am your host, Chris Burkhardt. You can follow me on social at Chris J. Burkhardt. Thanks to everyone who does. Continue the conversation over there because, like I said, we got a lot to get to. It's been a minute since I fired up this mic. Been out of town, out of state, in fact, for some work and taking care of business. But we are back, and in the last few weeks, there has been a lot of Trailblazers news. A new coach, a big trade, some free agent signings, and we're going to talk about it all right now. Obviously, we're not going to talk about necessarily in that order. We're going to save a little bit of Coach Nori for the end. We're going to save those free agent signings for the end. We're going to talk about trades right now, some that happened, some that didn't, and the ones that impact your Portland Trailblazers, because there has been some very, very big ones here in recent days, and they have fired up the social media. You have seen articles and columns written, some very, very polarizing, and we have seen the takes all over the place, the good, the bad. I don't know if we've seen the ugly, but I'm here to talk about it. I try to do my best to talk about this all in basketball terms, but of course with Ja Morant, it's hard not to talk about the off-court stuff, and we will talk about that as well. But obviously that was the news that broke. Ja Morant. Right? Blazers were looking for Jaylen Brown. That was the rumor. Everyone's talking about it. And as Sean Hyken pointed out a couple of times, the trade that is the one that is most often rumored when it comes to the Blazers tends to be the one that doesn't happen. The Blazers always pull that trade that you did not see coming. And the one they pulled was, in fact, one we did not see coming. No one expected Ja Morant to the Portland Trailblazers. In fact, I think most people expected Ja Morant to be traded. I was looking at teams like Minnesota because through their playoff run, I'm like, they need a guard, especially with Dante DiVincenzo out and Mike Conley's not the Mike Conley of old. They need a point guard. Ja Morant could go there. Him and Anthony Edwards could be a good combo. I see that. Nope, they go out and they get LaMelo Ball. What? Okay. So that team's off the table. Who else needs a guard? Well, Portland doesn't need a guard. They got Damian Lillard coming back. They got Scoot Henderson. They still have Drew Holiday. They're fine. Curveball. For a sport that is played with a big orange ball, they like to do things that little white ball with red stitches does. Curveballs. And that's what we got. As the Blazers traded for Ja Morant. Now, that in and of itself, it set social media ablaze for all the takes, whether it was for his off-the-court issues or how it doesn't fit, whatever. Not a lot of people liking the deal, some people poo-pooing it, and some people going far beyond that and crossing a line to which I'm not going to cross, and we're going to talk about Ja Morant in basketball terms here. But in a vacuum, before we start talking about the roster fit, all that stuff, in a vacuum of the trade itself, Jeremy Grant, Chris Murray, and that's right. That's it. No first-round picks, no second-round picks, no other assets. For Ja Morant, who's a multi-time All-Star, a guy that Memphis was building the team around. That's the type of guy he is. But then they trade Jaren Jackson Jr. They start, shipping people off, rearranging the chairs, so to speak, and Ja Morant was on his way out. Portland picks up the pieces. In that vacuum, Portland absolutely wins that trade. 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, they win that trade. They traded a guy in Jeremy Grant, who I love. I was a big fan of him here. If you guys listen to me on Rip City Radio and on these podcasts, found him very, very complimentary as a sixth man. A very good scorer, all those things. But a guy that Blazer fans, and when it came to talking about trades, was always linked to being on the way out. So they traded the one guy that everyone says they need to trade, a piece in Chris Murray, who, quite frankly, I think is closer to his ceiling than a lot of people think. I think he is what he is. He's a good rotation player. But they trade those two guys out and they get the reclamation project. They get Ja Morant. Now, instantly, people started to float things out there about his off-the-court issues with the gun stuff and the attitude and, oh, the Jailblazers, blah, blah, blah. Just stop with that bullshit. Pardon my language to my young listeners. That'll be my only Nino, my bad word of the day. But that's nonsense. It's nonsense. Because could Ja Morant run a foul here? Sure. But so could anyone else on the roster. We as a society, we as a fan base, we love the comeback story. We love someone to right the wrongs and prove that, hey, that was a blip on the radar. I'm a better person for it. And all of a sudden, Ja Morant comes here and everybody wants to focus on that. Oh, it's the negative, the negative, the negative. So do you like the comeback story or do you not? Because you have a chance here to do something really, really good and really helpful for a player who has had a few things off the court that make you take pause. Now, in the grand scheme too, compared to what some other people have done, he has not done the worst things. He has not done the worst things. And sometimes change of scenery helps. We have been big on that. I thought the change of scenery getting out of Denver and the situation in that locker room was great for Jusuf Nurkic to come to Portland. We talked about that massively when it happened. Now, I'm not saying Denver was a locker room cancer or anything. No, far from it. But he wasn't jiving. They had the center rotation wasn't working. They had the Joker, the young version of him. Kenneth Faried was still there. He just needed out. He needed to change scenery. He comes to Portland. He was great. Maybe Ja Morant's going to be the same guy. But I do not like poo-pooing that and shooting that down before he's even had a chance to hit the court. He's here in Portland with a guy in Damian Lillard who we all know doesn't take nothing. He doesn't take none of that nonsense. Locker room leader. If the team does not trade Drew Holiday, guess what? Multi-time teammate of the year in the NBA. Winner last year of the Maurice Lucas Award. A guy that players gravitate to, learn from. Maybe Ja Morant needs that. But that's all the stuff that we can hope gets dealt with. And the team understood that risk involved. But even so, the risk they took was low. They didn't give out Scoot Henderson and multiple first-round picks to come get the reclamation project. They did not send those guys out to get the guy in who, this is his second chance, so they're going to send out all of our young assets. No. They traded a guy they wanted to salary dump anyway. A young rotation player who is just that, a rotation player, and nothing else. And they got a guy who still has all-star potential left in him. That, again, in that vacuum, great trade for the Trailblazers. But, as we know, not all trades are made in a vacuum because there's multiple other things that have to factor in. Roster fit, playing time, position, etc., etc., etc. We hinted on it a little bit. How does he fit in that locker room? Again, I don't think anyone should necessarily be completely judged at all times by the one black cloud that hung over their head from years ago. Now, if you do things here in Portland that continue to show that the black cloud is there, then yes, you talk about those things. But right now, new team, new scenery, and hopefully new Ja. And it sounds like it because according to the article written by Jason Quick of The Athletic, new head coach Micah Nori, we'll get to that a little bit later in the show, has already had multiple sits down with Ja Morant, sat and talked with him for 2 hours the other day, and was nothing but complimentary of the person and the player he talked to. Said he was talking to a guy who just wanted to fall in love with basketball again. And quite frankly, if you're in a situation where you're losing the love of the game and you have different off-the-court stuff that is pulling you in every which way, perhaps it's easier to fall off the track. And sometimes that trade, even though it might not fit with the roster and you doesn't make sense to us, maybe that for that person is what you need to get back on the trail. No pun intended. But if you want to get back on the trail, Trailblazers makes sense to me. So we'll see what happens there. But Coach Nori was complimentary of him. He sounds like a guy who's ready to go. Damian Lillard seems excited. Ja Morant is a very, very good basketball player. And so in that vein, Portland won that trade. And now we have to see how it plays out because, Like I said, not everything's done in a vacuum. There are still multiple questions because now we are looking at a roster that has Damian Lillard, Ja Morant, Drew Holiday, Scoot Henderson. You still got Shaden Sharp. You got Vit Krejci, who's a shooting guard, small forward type. You got a lot of guys who want to play that point guard position. Got a lot of shooting guards. You got Denny Avdia, who last year you saw plays with the ball in his hand quite a bit. A point forward. So roster-wise, now you have a lot of questions. Is the starting backcourt Dame and Ja? And Drew's nowhere to be seen. He's coming off the bench. Well, if Drew's coming off the bench, who's your next guard behind him or next to him? Are you going Drew and Scoot? Scoot at the 1, Drew at the 2? Are you going Drew at the 1, Shaden Sharp at the 2? Either way, someone who is deserving of minutes is getting left out. And you don't necessarily have any more power forward depth. Your small forward depth is pretty low. Your big man depth is all right because Robert Williams re-signed. Yes, that's great. Dive into that a little deeper in a second. But you look at the roster and it is oops all guards. As guard heavy as it gets. I made a joke with my buddy via text the other day. I said, well, when you have every single guard in the NBA on your roster, you have all the leverage in trades with the teams who need guards. Said it jokingly. But of course, maybe that plays in here because there feels like you look at this roster that there are still trades to be made. You cannot go in and hope that this is successful. If you're going to go into lineups where you're playing Dame and Ja and Scoot at the same time and Dame and Ja and Drew at the same time, you are going to be undersized and you're going to need Donovan Clingan to go out there and get you about 40 rebounds a night to stay competitive on the glass. So gut tells me still trades to go. Now, one of the trades that people were definitely looking at with big old eyes was Jaylen Brown. Okay, well, getting Ja still opens the door for Jaylen Brown. You could have, maybe it was Scoot and Shea and Drew, and you send him there and you get Jaylen Brown. But the news breaks yesterday that Jaylen Brown's going to Philadelphia for Paul George and a couple picks. Not necessarily the deal that Portland could have put together asset-wise. Portland could have gave you a lot more in the trade department, in the picks department, that is. But I think as the door was opening for a Jaylen Brown trade, as the Celtics lost a little bit of leverage, as people started to look at the fact that he's a very, very high paid player, maybe the value wasn't there. Portland didn't want to, go above what Philly was offering. And just because you have more to offer doesn't mean you have to throw it all on the table, because perhaps there's better trades out there. I love Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown's a great player. And analytically, you can look at it, the plus minus with him on the court, with him off the court. People look at the fact that the Celtics may have played better when he wasn't on the court. Eye test tells me different. He's a phenomenal player. But I still think there's players out there that may be available who fit this roster just a little bit better. Maybe they aren't the quote unquote talent that Jaylen Brown is, but they fit this roster to a T. I am looking very, very closely at New Orleans and Trey Murphy and what that team decides to do. Because if I have to get off Scoot Henderson and or Shaden Sharp and have to give a couple of those picks and I can get a guy like Trey Murphy to come in and now I have my small forward and my power forward positions locked up, I feel really good about that. And I have no problem personally. Maybe he does. That's why you have a coach who has to talk you through these things. But I do think that Toumani Camara in a situation like that becomes phenomenal sixth man. And maybe your starting lineup now is Dame and Ja and Trey Murphy and Denny Avdia and Donovan Clingan. And I like what you're doing there. I do. Again, Ja Morant and Damian Lillard doesn't really make sense when you look at it. But I want to see how this thing plays out. I don't like to poo-poo everything that instantly happens. Now, a lot of my text messages and the people reaching out to me did not like it. And of course, they did not like it for those things we talked about off the court. But I would hope that change of scenery, change of philosophy, change of locker room, where you are not the guy. You are not the one everyone's looking to, because everyone in that locker room right now looks to Dame or Drew. I think that's good. And I think a guy who may have struggled a little bit with those things can thrive in that situation. Sometimes it's all about having the right people around you. Hopefully Portland can help that. On the court, though, Ja Morant's a home run. If he is the Ja Morant of old. Now you can look to the whole, well, he hasn't played this many games over the last few years. Memphis was also struggling, and they were kind of in tank mode too. How many games did you see Damian Lillard and other players sit out here in Portland over the last few years who clearly weren't injured? Clearly. Maybe he's not as injured as we think. But we're getting a high-flying guard. If you can get a Ja Morant who can still bounce a little bit, I know he's losing that athleticism. He needs to work on his shot, which video has shown that he's been doing that, but every NBA player does that. Can that translate to a game? But if you can get a Ja Morant that is good with the ball in his hands, capable of finding open shooters, and then you get Damian Lillard and you get everyone else going, I think you get a good version of Ja Morant. Is it the best fit? Again, on paper, it raises question marks, but it also raises intrigue because I want to see it. I want to see what this looks like. And also, right now, I would argue that you have a Blazer team that went to the playoffs last year, got into the play-in, got through the play-in, got to the playoffs, and yes, they lost to San Antonio. But that team did not have Damian Lillard playing. They had a Jeremy Grant who was right back in the lineup there in the play-in game, right? He had been dealing with injuries. But now you get Ja Morant to that lineup. Those two guys alone, Portland feels like they're better going into this season. You take a playoff team and you add Ja Morant and you add Damian Lillard to it. Now, you have, I make this reference a lot on game day in the fifth quarter for those who listen, like you have a lot of Lego pieces. Now it's time to build the set. How does that set look? That's the question. It's the $1 million question. I would be disappointed, and we'll have another episode around that time, and I hope that's not what we're talking about. But I would be disappointed if this is the exact roster that goes into the season, just because of how guard heavy it is. It's filthy guard heavy. You got to do something. You got to go get a forward out there. You got to add some sort of talent around this roster. So that's not guys who just play point guard. You just can't. Now, the thing here, too, that I would argue that Ja Morant helps is the fact that, keep in mind, my friends, Damian Lillard, he's coming off a Achilles injury, and he's 35 years old. He's going to be 36 years old in 2 weeks. He's entering this season at 36 years of age. He's on the back end of the back end. He's got a handful of years left in him. Not a lot of players, just to be completely honest, not a lot of players in the NBA playing well into their 40s. And then you have Jrue Holiday, who just turned 36 as well. Now, if you use Jrue Holiday in a trade or what have you, or maybe you use Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe in a trade, and those were your two young guys you were building around, well, guess what? Ja Morant's 26. You still have that young guy who could be entering his prime if everything works out. So I see logic there. Again, my job here is not to instantly tell you everything wrong with this. I try to put myself in the position of a general manager as to why these trades would happen. And that's what I see. I see two aging guards. I see young talent behind it. And I see avenues that we got to go. We either trade one of those older guys, because Dame's going to want to end his career here. I fully believe that. But you trade one of those older guys and you have that young guard there to go, or you trade the guys behind him. You trade the Scoot and you trade Shea, because you have a 26-year-old point guard that you can have be the guy moving forward. Options. But when you come to a fork in the road, take it. As Yogi Berra once said, I know that doesn't make sense, but you still got to take that path. Figure something out here. But again, all in all, I like Ja Morant. I like what he brings. Now can they continue to build that roster out and fix it and make it all fit and do it now? I do not want to wait till trade deadline, and I don't want to sit here going, okay, so now next offseason, when we've done that so many times, I want it to happen now. Get a trade happening. Get something moving. Going into the season with oops all guards is going to be rough. Unless you're just trying to buck the trend. No, everyone's going with these 3-and-D guys. Now they get to defend. Everyone gets to defend these super, super fast guards with great handles. And I don't know. I don't see it working. Not at all. You still got moves to make. But I'm not here to crap on Ja Morant as a person or just crap on the trade as a whole. I mean, I'm very, very big on second chances and changes of scenery helping people. I say that as someone too, just changing jobs. And this is what you're doing. You're changing employers. And I have worked at places that were like, I liked the people I work with, AKA my teammates. Management was rough and management wasn't nice to me, and management made my life miserable. And I left that place of employment, and I still talk about it with people about how it was absolutely toxic. And I was not in a good headspace. I was negative. I was grumpy. I just didn't like going to work. And again, it just made me just, and I was that guy in the office. If no one wanted to talk to me at the time, I'm sure there was a lot of them, because who wants to go talk to the grumpy asshole in the office? I apologize. I said earlier that was my only curse word. I just dropped a second one. Sorry, children. I will put my money in the swear jar. But I was that guy for a second. And then I left, and leaving was great for me. And then you had to find a new job. And then I end up at my new place of employment, which is one of the best places I've ever worked. A great team, great management, great leadership. And I find myself not being the grumpy SOB at work every day. Why? What changed? Change of scenery, change of leadership, change of those around you. Same person, but impacted differently by the situation that they're in, and better for it. And I loved my old job. My old job is what got me the foot in the door. It's what started me professionally covering the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies. It's what got Ja in the door. It's what got him in the NBA. It's what helped make him a star. Wrong people, wrong management, wrong peers, wrong influence. Maybe change of scenery helps that. And again, covering the NBA ain't like working in the NBA, but all jobs are all the same at their core. Your teammates, your management, your coaches, your staff, your peers, everyone around you. You can go from a bad situation to a good situation. The person didn't change, just the scenario. And the scenario can change the person. That is why I'm not completely out on Ja Morant. It's a lot of faith in Damian Lillard. So we'll see what happens there. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now, pivoting off Ja Morant for a second, let's talk about head coach Micah Nori. New head coach. Blazers pivoted off of Tiago Splitter, went with Coach Nori. And I was a big fan of Tiago. You guys know that. When he was hired on Coach Billups' staff, I was jazzed. I was excited. I told you all that I thought that was the best assistant coaching hire of Coach Billups' tenure. And then all the stuff with the FBI happens, and Coach Billups is gone, and they have to have a new head coach. After the very first game of the season, Tiago Splitter comes in, does a great job. He ends the playoff drought. He gets the team, going in the right direction. He manages the locker room and the egos. Everybody loves him. They get to the playoffs. They have a great year. I thought he did everything he needed to do to earn the job moving forward, but change in management, change in ownership. They want to do a coaching search. Now, I said this too. I got to be honest with myself, that I said, I want Tiago Splitter to be the next head coach, but I also want them to go through a head coaching search. And if he's not the guy in that search, then he's not the guy, and I'm fine with it. He ended up taking the job in Chicago, probably made the Blazers' job just a little bit easier because he's off the market. People started panicking. But then they go with Micah Nori, assistant coach from Minnesota. And I look at that, and I did a radio interview with Fox Sports Radio in Eugene, and they were asking me, like, what do the Blazers need? And I was like, continuity. And that's why I thought Tiago Splitter was important. Was just you had a little bit of continuity moving forward with the same head coach, and I don't want to continue to keep changing, because if realistically you go, oh, Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson need to make that jump, well, they're going into this season. Think about it this way: whether they're with the Blazers or traded, unless they're traded to Chicago, they're going into this season with their third head coach in 3 years. It's hard to do. They needed continuity, but Thiago is off the table. So what's the next best thing to continuity? Experience. And so you get a guy in Micah Nori who has years and years of experience, who has coached with guys like Dwayne Casey, who was a coach of the year, who has coached with guys like Mike Malone, who have won NBA championships, who have coached with Chris Finch, who has made Minnesota just a pillar of consistency and a contender every single year, despite roster changes and all that. He's been around. He's coached great players, and he's been with great coaches. And he didn't come to Portland with 1 year of being an assistant coach under his belt. No, very long time of being an assistant coach under his belt. So he comes with experience. He comes from a background of great coaches and coaching great players. And I think that type of personality, if you don't have continuity, is going to walk into that locker room and people are going to respect it. Hey, I've coached with Mike Malone. I have ties to Nikola Jokic. I was coaching Anthony Edwards. I was coaching Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, and coaching in the Western Conference Finals. And now you come in, take over, and you let it be his. And that's a good thing too, because Thiago never really had a chance until about midway through the season to call it his own. People said I was dumb for saying that, but think about this. When he was pushed into that position, nobody knew what the future of Chauncey Billups was. No one. Here's our acting head coach, meaning, again, acting versus interim. Acting head coach. He's just here till the head coach comes back. The head coach never came back. Maybe Chauncey's going to go. He's going to go to trial, and he's going to plead this. He'll be back in a month. That never happened. And as the year progressed, Thiago got more and more control because it became more and more clear what was happening with Chauncey. With Nori, it's day one. Hey, come in. It's yours. Own it. And let's move forward. Now, a lot has been made about the 1 year guaranteed contract with the 2 options on that. Is it unheard of on paper? Yeah, weird. But at the same time, because those deals aren't tied to the salary cap and all that stuff, essentially every single coach in the NBA is on a 1 year guaranteed deal. Every single one of them. Be fired mid-season, be fired at the end of the season. Team is on the hook to still pay the salary, but you're not hurting in the books because, okay, Thiago was fired midway through the year. Now that $2 million is just dead money on the cap. That's not how it works. Coaches are let go all the time. We've seen those mid-season fires. Those interim head coaches take over. Every single coach is essentially on a 1 year deal coaching for their job. The only difference here is it's just not written in paper to be a 3 year guaranteed deal. Because if the reports of Ton Dundon trying to save money, this is a money saving move. I don't have to be on the hook if I don't like you. So now it's Coach Nori's job to say, guess what? Like me. I hope he'll do fine. I know that he comes from a great coaching tree and has coached great players. I don't know a ton about his X's and O's just yet, but I do like the hire. I just want to see what that looks like. I like the fact that he went out and has already met with Ja Morant. Guys make a big trade. Coach goes out, talks to him, makes sure everything's good to go. Now we'll see what happens with the assistants and who he hires and all that. If he keeps some of the Thiago staff and what he brings in for his own, but I like where they're going. I like his interviews. He's a good soundbite. And when you coach guys like Anthony Edwards, I think you know a thing or two about offense too. So we'll see where that lands and how he can fit with this roster that's obviously been flipped around a little bit. Now there's that. Now there's been free agent signings as well. Big ones in my opinion, because it got a little scary for a second. I thought the most important player for the Blazers going into this offseason was Robert Williams. Outside of that, they have no center depth. I love the potential of Young Hansen as much as the next guy. I want to see the story. He's great, but he's just not there yet. He's raw as raw can be, and some don't believe he'll ever get any better. And if you went into a season with Donovan Clingan and him as your, you're hurting. You're hurting. So Robert Williams enters free agency, and he definitely felt like he earned more money than he was getting paid, which was what, like 10 mil? Could the Blazers afford to do that? Okay, I don't know. It's hard to do. People are going to want him. He's a good center. I always felt Portland had a little bit of a leg up just because he did really, really well with the training staff, and they managed him well, got really good games out of him, and he had a good relationship with him. That was beneficial to the team and he. But other teams could offer more money. Now free agency hits, and guess what? Robert Williams re-signs with Portland. Sounded like one day it wasn't going to happen because he was looking for about $15 million a year. Portland didn't want to go there. And then he ends up signing a 3-year deal with some wording in there that is, again, the way Tom Dundon is working, beneficial to the team financially, but very, very beneficial to Robert Williams should he stay healthy and continue to put in the work that he put in last year to stay on the court. So according to Jake Fisher, NBA insider, says Robert Williams' deal is fully guaranteed at $14 million a year in year one, but only guaranteed at $5 million in year two. It becomes fully guaranteed if he plays in 50 games this year. So if he plays in 50 games in this first season of his deal, then his second year becomes fully guaranteed. Now, year 3 is non-guaranteed, but if he plays 50 games in year 2, it becomes fully guaranteed. So the incentive is all based on the amount of time he stays on the court. Understandable. And Robert Williams says, okay, I like the money there. I understand the risk involved. I got to stay healthy. I haven't been the healthiest over my time in the NBA, but I like it. I like the deal. I want to stay. And so Portland got their biggest fear was him leaving and trying to backfill that spot. And they don't have to now. They don't have to. And that's good. Because Robert Williams, there was times last year that he was one of the best players on the court for the Blazers. There was times that he was outplaying Donovan Clingan. Now, if Donovan Clingan takes another big jump this year, oh boy, I really like what we have there. But getting Robert Williams back, I thought was priority number one. And it was going to be a hard thing to do, and they were able to do it. Now, the importance of that center depth, though, understanding that I fully expect him to never play the second of a back-to-back again. I thought that was really, really good for his knee health and his recovery. And they know that they're going to have days that they're going to have to rely on their third center. And so the Blazers go in now to the season with Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams, and Young Hansen. But as I said a second ago, Young Hansen ain't ready. So the Blazers make another move. They go out and sign Brendan Carlson from the Oklahoma City Thunder. He appeared in 42 games for the Thunder last season. He averaged 5.8 points, 3 rebounds, and just under 1 assist in about 11 minutes a game. 74 games over his two years, averages just a little bit lower than what they were last year. So you're getting a guy here who has a little bit of experience with OKC, is definitely a end of the bench big, but now you have a little bit of room here because you can maybe have him push Young Hansen. Maybe Young Hansen passes him on the depth chart, and that's a good thing. Or if Young Hansen doesn't make any moves, you have a guy who has played sparingly in the NBA, played with OKC, played 42 games, no small change there, with a title contender, and is going to be able to fill those minutes when Robert Williams can't go. So again, depth play move. But they traded for guards, they signed 2 centers, and the question remains forward depth. Small forward, power forward. Matisse Thybulle still on the market as of this recording. Can they go get him maybe on a vet min? Because I don't think there's a lot of money being thrown around at Matisse Thybulle. Do they keep him? Do they go somewhere else? They have those vet min deals to work with. Or do they continue to look at the trade market because now they have 75 guards on their roster and need to make some moves? Again, if you go into the season as guard heavy as they are, I don't like that. You're not selling me on the fact that, oh yeah, Drew Holiday is just a small forward. No, he's not. No, he's not. Trey Murphy, I'm looking at you. You look mighty good in a pinwheel. Maybe there's some other trades out there. But it just feels like the Blazers are going to go, hopefully, continue to fish. And it doesn't necessarily have to be big game fishing or big game hunting. Just go out there and get another guy. Maybe you're trading a small amount of assets to get a lot of depth, or maybe you're trading a lot of assets to go get a legit starter. And if that has to push a guy like Toumani Camara to the bench, fine with it. I'm fine with that. I love Toumani Camara as much as the next guy. But if we can get better, you get better. That's what you got to do. But maybe you're trading Scoot and or Shea. You're keeping Drew, but you're sending those guys out, and you're getting a lot of really good 6th, 7th guys that benefit you too. I wouldn't trade Scoot for a guy who's just going to be the 6th man off the bench. Well, right now, Scoot's like the 8th man off the bench in this roster, the way it's built. And I like Scoot Henderson. I'm overly optimistic. People pick on me for it all the time. I love to be optimistic about this team and this roster and all this stuff. Because like I said, when you are the guy who's, grumpy me, being pessimistic the entire time is exhausting. I'll tell you when stuff's bad. I'll tell you when I don't like it. I will be open with you at all times. Regardless. Point is, I still feel like there's something being cooked in the kitchen. I don't know if it's gourmet or just, a little top ramen. But guess what? The poly in me, I love myself a good top ramen. Point is, it doesn't have to be gourmet to taste good. To fill your stomach and make you good moving forward. What will the Blazers do next? Buckle up! I can't wait. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to the 1977 podcast, which today ran like episode and a half, maybe 2 episodes long. I did not adhere to my 19-minute and 77-second time block, but that's okay. We went into overtime. That will happen sometimes. Maybe sometimes more often than not, because this is just fun. But I got to have a brand. I got to stick to it. But there's just so much to talk about. And I had to sound off a little bit. So I'm going to post a video. You're listening to the audio podcast now. I'm going to post a video on YouTube as well. So you can go comment there. Hit me up on social. Chris J. Burkhardt on both Blue Sky and X, or Twitter for all us old heads. And send me your comments, your concerns. Do you agree? Do you disagree? That's all okay. There is no right answer here. We're all in the same boat. Rip City, right? We want to know what happens. And winning does cure all. It is the perfect medicine. And hopefully what they got going can get it done. Everybody enjoy the 4th of July holiday. Heard there's a big 250 celebration going on. Go America. World Cup's going on. The soccer team's doing great. Or the football team, depending on where you're watching. It's awesome. It's just a good time to be a sports fan. A lot of question marks around Portland, though. I didn't even dive into Dundon and the stadium and all that. It's another episode. Maybe I'll record one tomorrow for you. Who knows? Thanks for tuning in. As always, Rip City, I love you.
You've been listening to the 1977 podcast. See you next time.